Hello everybody, Ellie here for WhoCulture. And yes, I am going to talk to you about some Doctor Who news, but just before I go any further, there is something that needs to be addressed. If you are in England today, then I wish you all the best in the Euros final tonight. Come on England, come on lads, you can do it. You can do it, it's coming home. And now that I've got that out of the way, let's get to the Doctor Who news. So as I'm sure some of you may have seen, Jodie Whittaker and Mandip Gill are returning to the Whoniverse for a brand new series of audio adventures produced with Big Finish. Obviously, Jodie Whittaker, 13th Doctor, and Mandip Gill played the 13th Doctor's companion, Thasmin Khan. So these stories will be 12-hour-long stories, and they will be released from July 2025 onwards. It is quite early for an announcement, I would say, but I guess if they are recording them now, then it means that they can get on top of any leaks or spoilers that might happen if they're spotted around the Big Finish studios. Also, quite fitting, really, because 2025 is the 20th anniversary of Modern Who. Is anyone else starting to feel their age a little bit now? 20 years? Oh my lord. So alongside this announcement, there was some quotes from Jodie herself, and this is what she had to say. "I'm over the moon to be joining Big Finish for more adventures in the TARDIS. Recording the 13th Doctor and Yaz is a really lovely thing to revisit. One of the things Mandip and I used to love on Doctor Who was getting in, doing a new episode and meeting a brand new cast. I just can't wait to step back into the boots, put on the coat and get cracking. One thing's for sure, it's going to be brilliant." Now, when you think about it, it actually hasn't really been that long since Jodie Whittaker left and stepped down as the Doctor. The Power of the Doctor was in October 2022. Now, a lot has happened within the Whoniverse since then, but in the grand scheme of things, that actually isn't that long. And when you really do think about it, it doesn't feel like that long. It's weird, isn't it? On one hand, it does feel like a really long time ago because we've had a whole new season, we've had the 60th anniversary since then, so there's been a lot of hype around the show. But yeah, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't actually feel like that long ago that she stepped down. And I think because of that, this announcement and how soon the jump into the Big Finish world has happened actually is quite surprising. Now, I will be completely honest, as with quite a few Doctor Who fans, I would say, the 13th Doctor's era wasn't my favourite, which is not to say that there weren't moments that I did absolutely love and there aren't standout episodes that I do think were wonderful, but as a whole, I think there are a lot of issues with that era, not just to do with any performances or anything like that, but to do with writing, to do with external factors such as COVID. But I am really excited to see where Jodie and Mandip can go now that they have the opportunity to explore these characters further. And I am very excited to see how they grasp different writing, a different realm of performance. And I think Big Finish is such a great company, and I'm so happy and excited about the work that they do to just keep the longevity of these Doctors going. And audio is such a great way to do that. And what's really exciting about this is we now have another modern Doctor joining Big Finish. David Tennant has done it, because of course he has. David Tennant lives and breathes Doctor Who, and we love him for it. We've obviously quite recently had the shock return of Christopher Eccleston playing the 9th Doctor a few years ago. Even John Hurt has done it. And although Matt Smith and Peter Capaldi haven't, there is an asterisk here because we do have 11th Doctor and 12th Doctor adventures, and in this instance both those Doctors were voiced by Jacob Dudman. And of course now we can add Jodie Whittaker to that list as well. I mean, Jacob Dudman is very talented. I don't know if he could quite master Jodie's voice, let's be honest. And I think it's wonderful that we did still have the opportunity to have these characters, again, the beauty of audio, voiced by a different actor who is very talented at mimicking those recognisable voices. You know, in the instance of Matt Smith, for example, I mean, he is on another level. He's just gone higher and higher in the world of TV and film. I mean, at the moment, he's in one of the biggest shows, The House of the Dragon. He's in big Marvel movies, although, you know, maybe Morbius isn't the best example there, but you get the picture. So I guess he's on a slightly different level to the majority of the other Doctor Who actors that we've seen. And then when you then look at companions as well, Karen Gillan is in a very similar boat, arguably even bigger strides than Matt Smith. You know, she's in Guardians of the Galaxy, she's in Jumanji. So in terms of getting that duo back, it seems less likely. Peter Capaldi, I feel like of the two, might be more likely to one day return as the 12th Doctor for Big Finish. I guess then as well you could have Jenna Coleman returning. I think she would also be perhaps an actor who would be more likely to revisit that role for audio at some point. But again, she's actually making strides at the moment as well. I do then wonder if we're having Jodie Whittaker and Mandip Gill returning, will we see Tosin Cole or Bradley Walsh or John Bishop returning as their respective characters to join Jodie and Mandip at some point for these audio adventures with Big Finish? I could definitely see Bradley Walsh doing it, not gonna lie. I think he'd love doing it, to be honest. And I think that would be great. I'd love to see Graham return. And we know that Big Finish is already working with Joe Martin on a Fugitive Doctor adventure series at the moment, and we have Sacha Dhawan as well working on a Master series of adventures as well. So the 13th Doctor era is actually getting a lot of love and attention at the moment with regards to Big Finish. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that expand and continue, and to hopefully get those other 13th Doctor era characters in the fold as well, if at all possible. Now, the other thing that I think might be on people's mind with regards especially to Jodie and Mandip returning is Thasmin. Not to be confused with Yasmin, which I know is the name of the character. Thasmin is the ship name for 13 and Yaz, when people ship them as a couple. Just to avoid confusion, because I said Thasmin in a video once and everyone was like, that's not her name. That's not what I meant. Will Big Finish make this relationship more obvious? Will this come to fruition? We did come close to it in the show itself, and it was a very popular ship among the fans. I know there was a little bit of disappointment that it didn't go any further. Is this something that Big Finish might take the reins over and take even further? I guess it kind of depends where these audio adventures are set within the timeline. My guess would be that they'd be set between Revolution of the Daleks and the Halloween Apocalypse. So that's kind of after Ryan and Graham left, but before Dan arrived. So that seems like a good moment in time for these adventures to take place, where it's just the two of them. And I guess if you look at it from that perspective in the show, that it didn't happen in that moment of time. So would they introduce something that didn't happen in canon? Well, I mean, Big Finish have a lot of freedom to add whatever they want. So I think there definitely could be a lot more addition of maybe some flirtatious remarks, a little bit more of that, flirty banter between them. I could definitely see them doing that. And I certainly think that Big Finish is the type of company that will look at what fans wanted to see that maybe didn't happen, and taking hold of those and introducing them in the kind of expanded media of the show. So I definitely could see it being something that is explored. Maybe not completely on the nose, but I definitely think there could be a deeper exploration of it in the subtleties of dialogue and interactions, for sure. Overall, I think this is really exciting news. As I mentioned at the beginning, Jodie Whittaker's era was surrounded by baggage. There was a lot of baggage dragging this era down, COVID in particular. You had the controversy of the Timeless Child arc. People weren't happy with the writing of this era in particular. There was a shortened final series. There are a lot of things against this era. So I'm really, really glad that Jodie in particular gets to have another go at it in a different format. And if you think about it, the 6th Doctor and the 8th Doctor actually have had a massive increase in popularity since their work with Big Finish, which has allowed them to explore those characters further, tell more stories, and flesh out those characters a bit more in a way that the show didn't necessarily allow for them to do. And beyond even that, I mean, Jodie Whittaker herself, she's been a massive ambassador for the show. She clearly loved playing that role. She seems so lovely and bubbly and positive and energetic when talking about her time as the Doctor. So I would really love it for the 13th Doctor to have a renaissance of her own. And I guess as a final note, as for a television return for the 13th Doctor, because we know that's a question that people will now start asking, I doubt very much that this announcement is kind of a harbinger, see what I did there, for anything on that level. But I like that Jodie is definitely keeping herself within that Doctor Who family, keeping herself on that radar, keeping herself familiar to the fans. And I don't think that we can rule out ever seeing the 13th Doctor return on screen. I mean, stranger things have happened. Practically every Doctor has returned at some point, with a few exceptions, I will say. But, even William Hartnell came back to the role in the 3 Doctors. So history does dictate that it is inevitable that at some point we will see 13 return to our screens, and I for one would be very excited to see 13 return and to definitely see how this character is explored further in the audio adventure world. Let me know your thoughts on this announcement in the comments down below. Are you excited for 13 to finally be allowed to explore a little bit more? Are you excited to see where they go with this character? Let me know in the comments down below. In the meantime though, I've been Ellie for WhoCulture, and in the words of Riversong herself, goodbye sweeties. And come on England!